Oh, man. Welcome to the Dog Pound, episode number 5. And I've got the Dog Pounders here. Dave couldn't make it this week, but on my right, used car genius, Patrick O'Brien.
Hey, thank you, Jim. I wouldn't go that far, but thank you.
Yeah, what the heck? I've been known as the king of exaggeration.
Hey, that's all right. I appreciate it. I appreciate it when it's coming my way.
There you go. And who's that next to you? That's Bobbie Herron. Hello, Bobbie.
Hello.
Bobbie, we're going to call her the BDC queen. We're going to.
Oh, I like it.
We're going to put her as the queen of BDC.
I like it.
And now, Mad Russian, we're talking about author, F&I expert, reinsurance expert, Max Zanan. Hello, Max.
You mean not the king of reinsurance, not the emperor of book writing, you know?
I was going to say, go forever, Max.
Monarch of mayhem.
That's a good one.
He's a Russian. He's the commissioner. The commissioner of something or other.
I'll take it.
And one of my favorite other people in the whole wide world, just the queen of queens, that's going to be Jennifer Briggs. Hey, kid.
Hey, I mean, the queen of queens, I'll take it, right?
Oh, man. Well, I don't see the YouTube diva. She hasn't shown up yet.
I thought she said she wasn't going to make it today in the messaging.
She might have told me that, but you know what? We got the core group here. We got the Dog Pounders, and what's happened this week, guys?
Well, a lot. We had an amazing Q&A. So
Patrick, you got to mute your line when you're taking phone calls, man. It's like it's your first time here.
Sorry.
Yeah, no broadcast.
Ending the phone call. I know. Sorry.
A phone call right in the middle of the live broadcast. Okay. All right, Jennifer, you got the floor. Tell me what's going on this week.
Well, this week we are just finalizing a ton of deals and getting our systems cleaned up for month-end reporting. We had another record-breaking month and record in units and parts.
Who are we talking about?
So we are talking about, several organizations actually. So
because you consult a lot of dealerships.
A few. Yeah.
Before you answer that, not to interrupt you, but Jim, Chelsea just texted me and said nobody can share the broadcast because it's not set to public. So just a quick heads up so we can fix it.
Oh, wait a second. They've been doing that to me. Hang on one second. Yeah. I'll fix that real quick.
All right.
Oh, man.
That's all right.
I'm going to figure out why that's happening. Thanks for alerting me to that.
We have a loyal audience. They just text us like, hey.
Yeah.
Like, I can't share.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you guys.
Continue on, Jennifer.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I have a few stores that I work with, and so we are celebrating a lot of wins coming into today, which also means we have a lot of work to do. One of the things I'm a huge proponent of is not taking your foot off of the gas. So there's a lot of things that we have to do behind the scenes from a leadership and management standpoint to make sure that we can get everything tied out and reconciled, get our statements posted, and get our teams back, actively prospecting. Because even if the traffic gets lower at the beginning of the month, we can't wait. So it's like we get a 5-minute breather after leaving super late on that last day, and then while everyone else is kind of being a little bit slow, I've been very, very busy so far this morning, just trying to get everything tied out and make sure we get things posted in the DMS so that we can tie out our reporting in the CRM and move on. Because while we're celebrating record-breaking units and grosses, I would also like to celebrate, because I know we're going to have some other performance metric records broken, but I got to get everything cleaned up before we can celebrate those wins.
There you go.
Oh, what about you?
Jim.
What did you guys do this last week?
We're launching new websites across the group and at each store. So it's been a hell of a week. Yeah.
during month end?
I don't. Yeah, but that's not part of what I do. You know what I mean?
You're
Them
like-
selling cars really isn't part of what I'm doing anymore. So I do all this back end stuff.
Oh, I know, but generating leads, you know.
We haven't launched the websites yet. We were just doing all the designs and stuff. The group site launches tomorrow.
Gotcha.
Group site launches tomorrow. Each individual site launches the day after, and then our main store site launches on the 17th.
Very
Very good.
good.
Dealer Inspire.
Right on.
I was going to say, you're a brave man if you flipped them suckers on last week.
No. They actually, when Christine over there called me this morning and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go live today?" I was like, "Absolutely not."
Oh, you have
Absolutely not.
You have Christine Settlemeyer?
Christine
Oh,
Rhea.
Christine,
Yeah.
yeah, Christine's a great launch coordinator.
She's
for
been
websites.
wonderful. It's just I still have to go in because I took the weekend off. So I still have to go in and reconcile all the deals from all the stores to make sure all the sources are correct. Because when they put phone up, they just put phone up and then the source is phone up also. So then I have to go back in and do that.
And now you take weekends off? Look
Yeah.
at you coming to the man.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. Unless they need me like to go in and like sub at a store. Yeah. Saturday and Sundays
I'm just
So,
kidding.
wait, Patrick, did you tell me you're relying on the sales team to log those phone ups? You're not using a technology?
Nope. I have them.
Okay.
Nope, I have it all. Yep. I
You just
have
have
all
to
the call
match
tracking
them up.
set up. Yes. I just want to match it all up. Make sure it's all correct. When I first, the month of March, when I came in and cleaned it up, it was like 95 that were unmatched. And this month, I think we have 6 that are unmatched. And those were walk-ins.
Yeah, so for those of you listening, what we're talking about is in the CRM, particularly in VIN Solutions that Patrick's on. Inside of the CRM, what happens is every night the DMS makes a phone call to your CRM and it says, hey, see these deals? And these are the same ones. So I'm going to finalize them, add the deal number and all the details. But then it can say, wait a minute, I see these deals and this might be different. And it falls into a bucket. So if you guys are on VIN and don't know this, it falls into a bucket and you have to go in and tell it as your assistant, hey, this one is right, this one isn't, because your assistant in any CRM is not empowered to make those decisions.
And really what it is it's and again, it's a frustration that I have, but again, I think it's a frustration that anybody has is the salespeople, they just click the first thing that they can find in there. They go, that's where the phone call came from. Luckily, I know where the phone call comes from because I have every single lead provider's telephone number sourced and it all plugs right into the back end. So it's a little bit more tedious because I got to go and like look for the telephone number, but it's not that big of a deal. It takes an hour. It takes an hour to do one store.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's really not. They're pretty good about it at the desk, though. The managers, if they catch it, they'll flip it and they'll actually, make it where it's supposed to be. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
I still have to
What
fix
about
something.
you, Max? What have you been up to?
Max, you're not in Spain, I see.
I am not. I mean, listen, I'm back in the States and I'm visiting dealers. I'm blown away by the amount of money they're making. I mean, it is God bless is all I'm gonna say. I mean, these guys deserve it. They so deserve it. After being abused for over a decade.
I was gonna say,
I know the invoice. I know the dealer cash. I know the rebates. I know the interest rate. And you have to sell me a car at that number, or I'm gonna walk. Right. And the tables finally flipped. Right. And I'm super happy for these guys. The word of caution is that, these times make you relax, right? Because the salesmanship is basically out of the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Listen, what's your Memorial Day special, right? My Memorial Day special is that I have the car.
Exactly. I have inventory.
Right. So the salesmanship is out of the window, right? The training is out of the window. Everybody's laughing all the way to the bank. And listen, I don't have a crystal ball, but I guarantee you that every manufacturer is going to fix this chip shortage at some point. Right. And guess what? They're going to flood the inventory with cars. I don't care what franchise you have. Mm-hmm. You can have a Rolls-Royce franchise that will give you a 6-month supply, and what are you going to do then? When one day you wake up and all of a sudden you have to go back from making $4,500 a car to losing $2,100 triple net, right?
Well,
At what point are you going to look in the mirror and say, holy shit, I should have done this while the times were good?
Well, I feel like the smart ones should already be doing it, Max.
Right.
I think that's the struggle. We talked about this, I think, in week 1, where everyone's like, oh, it's just us. We're just that good. It's not that the market is there. These basic economic principles.
Right.
I have one friend who is not in automotive, and he was looking to buy a Camry last week in Texas. And I told him already, had said, if you don't have to buy right now, don't. Like, you're not. And this is not even a special Camry. And he sends me the pencil. And in dealer editions, the very first thing, they're not even hiding it.
Nope.
The very first thing, market adjustment, $3,000
Right.
on a Camry.
And what are we teaching?
$5,000 next month.
What are we teaching customers, though, that a market adjustment is fair so they can negotiate it later? Like, I'm concerned with this is going to change at some point, like you said, Max. And so I'm concerned with why aren't dealers right now spreading out between their trades and their cars that gross? Not that I'm advocating a hard pack. I'm just saying if we're smart, we're going to accrue across those cars, because right now we're putting way too much into cars because of the market. And that's great if we sell them right now. But what happens in 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden it drops $6,000 and we have a huge shortage, and it goes back to that market driven versus management driven. I know they're having killer months and I'm glad for them, but I wish that somebody would step in there and say, or maybe in some places they have, step in and say, hey guys, we can't take 10 grand on this one car and then 3 months from now lose 8 grand on this. We need to be spreading that across.
No, I think that's a valid point. And I think what we've always kind of seen in acquisition of our inventory is some stores treat it like it is a capital investment, right? This is my money. It is tied up here. Could it be earning me other money or not? And then there's still some old school folks who think, oh, I love this car. It's so cool. It's going to sell. And some of them will, like Patrick's inventory, like and me and Bobbie coming from Michigan, you're damn right. I'm telling you to hold on to that Corvette until April. Do not wholesale it in November.
No.
Hold on to it. But I think there's going to be an issue where people are still there and they're not looking at it from a financial investment. So like combining what Max and Bobbie were both saying is that if I'm riding this wave and I'm not realizing how much capital I actually have invested in these units and I'm not to turn them, I am screwed at the end of inspection and I am underwater as far as this inventory investment goes.
And keep in mind, listen, the books adjust down a lot faster than they adjust up. Okay,
Yes,
it took
they do.
it took 3-4 months for the books to catch up to go up. I guarantee
It's going
you,
to crash, guys. It's going to crash.
they're going down.
The bubble's going to burst. It's going to crash, and all these people
We're like
are
the
gonna be
housing
so
market.
upside down. These people are going to be so upside down in the units we sold them during this period of time. We're not doing car sales. We're doing weddings.
Right. If we want a store that focuses on leasing, now would be the time to do that. So in 2 to 3 years, you have that clientele coming back and doing it. But the other thing is on the offside of this is the book on these cars is getting stronger and it's flipping up and down every day. And the majority of your banks, and Patrick will know this, obviously, the majority of your banks are reevaluating based on what the current book is. So you're in the start of a new month. If I'm a used car manager right now, one of the first things I'm doing is rebooking my entire inventory so that everybody I could not get approved last month because of LTV and because of cost is now has a list of the cars. There's never been a more important time to have even something as basic as a spreadsheet. I'll advocate technology, but I'll start with a spreadsheet and say, anybody that you had last month that was approved at 105 out the door for 105% instead of 125, you might find that the cars you had on the lot at the time that didn't work now fit. Go back through everything that wasn't approved, starting there, rebook your inventory, and then reach out to those customers to resubmit those approvals because it climbed again from what I booked out today just for a couple of clients.
I've been teaching that for years. Now listen closely.
It should do it.
I bought a new car 2 weeks ago. I got a brand new Lincoln Aviator, and I mean, I got out of my lease on the Audi Q7, and nobody breaks a lease until now.
It's
Wait, hang on. Does that mean you no longer own the vehicle that Bobbie was arrested in?
No, not the one she was arrested in. You know,
And Max, you think you're the emperor of mayhem. Hold on.
there's all kinds of rumors about
Oh,
that.
I'm sorry. I'm taking
Bobbie came to Georgia, was standing under a lamppost with fishnet stockings. No, that was not the truth.
No, because if I was going to go that role, you'd have to hire me on a website.
But anyway, I called the dealer and I got a $2,300 refund over my payoff on the lease.
What did he charge you on that grill? We didn't find out about that. You told us that he knocked you for the grill.
No. Did not.
He didn't knock you for it. Okay.
No,
He was nice to you about it.
Everything went well. It was great. And then I called the president of Ford, Jim Farley, and got a deal on the Aviator. So I got it on both ends. But you know,
It's good to be the alpha.
Yeah, it really is.
It's going to crash hard.
Yeah.
It is.
It is, and people look at the housing market and they try to compare this and they go, oh, it won't. But the thing is, even when this market isn't crashing hard, we're not doing a good job of being market driven or being management driven. And so what happens is that we start to make decisions based on what's happening only in this moment, not remembering that our business is actually done based on the next 6 months of business. Right? What we do today sets us up for 3 to 6 months from now. It's kind of like SEO, right? And we don't do a good job as an industry of doing that. And I like to think that it has nothing to do with not wanting to, but more to do with knowledge. You've got you've got variable, you've got fixed, and then you've got the office, and it doesn't always go hand in hand together. So a lot of times we're looking at things we don't understand. If I say to a sales manager, you need to accrue across your cars, they're like, accrue, wait a minute. Right. What are you talking about? Instead of saying, hey, like 3 months from now, this is going to bottom out, and you're going to be stuck with this inventory, and you're going to be underwater come the fall, right? Now, I don't think that we're going to experience that sometime this year. Because
I just got off the phone with Ed Bozarth in Las Vegas, and he's having record months at his Chevrolet store. I mean, that's a 400 or 500 unit a month store to start with. And what's so interesting, they've only got 15 cars on the lot. I mean, they're turning inventory as quick as they can accrue inventory, buying centers. Right. And one thing I really like that some of the dealers are doing, they're calling themselves lease return centers.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that came from
advertising. Return your lease here. Prematurely return your lease. Next, what are you seeing in New York?
Listen, people are making a killing, and it really doesn't matter, right? If you're a Chevy dealer or a Nissan dealer or a Toyota dealer, it's just record-breaking profits.
Front and back. Hey, how about F&I?
It's front and back, right? You just listen. I highlighted it for you here. This is where you sign. So and people are just signing, right? But I want to make 2 points. I think the first point is that dealers are in a buying frenzy.
Yep.
They're buying used cars like they're going out of style, right? Because there's a pure fear of missing out. So am I willing to pay $10,000 over MMR? Absolutely, without thinking twice, right? And to address what Bobbie was saying about, spreading it across the trade-ins, the problem that I see is that the manager's interests are never aligned with the owner's interest. So why would they do that? Right?
They work for pay plans.
Taking a pay cut now. You're telling me let's do it, so you take the pay cut now, and I'm telling you no. Let's take the pay cut later because I'm not going to be here to take it.
No. But what's happening is psychology says. So anybody can Google this. Psychology says that, and I don't want to get political or about a pandemic, but I'm just going to add this one part. Psychology says that right now people are panic buying with everything. That includes dealers, that includes customers. And it's not, people aren't any more in need of a car right now than they were when we had a ton of inventory, unless you live in a natural disaster area. But psychology says you're panic buying because it's one of the few things that you can control right now in your world. That is going to come to an end, and we're going to damage the ability to handle those trade-ins when it happens. What I think we should be doing right now as a dealer is taking advantage of this. There's never been a better time to figure out why it takes you so damn long to turn your inventory when you take in a trade, get it photo ready, get it ready through service, get it on the lot. There's not a lot of focus happening right there. And this is when we need it most and can perfect it going forward for what we're trying to do.
Wow. Turning your inventory. I mean, when I was working with Lynn Hickey Dodge in Oklahoma City, the #1 dealer in history, They sold 2,817 units in June of '94, still the Guinness Book of World Records for retail sales. And Guinness was on the lot the entire month of June. 2,817 units in Oklahoma City. They had we talked about it before. They had a full-time balloon manager with a demo. Yeah. Well, Lynn Hickey was a trendsetter. And it was amazing. Lynn Hickey, if they couldn't bring a car forward in 72 hours, this is on his service manager. He had a dedicated get-ready staff with dedicated get-ready techs, including a paint job. If they couldn't bring a car forward in 72 hours, the only excuse would be parts waiting.
Right.
The only excuse is parts waiting.
Right.
If they couldn't bring that car forward in 72 hours, he was hitting the service manager $50 a day on
Per day.
Right. Every day costs money, and it's always been super important, especially in your marketing, to be able to do this. But now is the time to be able to, because I'll tell you what, taking in something sloppy, even one small shortcut, will cost you a ton of money in the future. It can lose you that customer, the reputation that goes with it. And then if the customer comes back and you have to fix something, we all know that a customer comes back and needs something fixed and you do it right, creates an even happier customer. But it creates more expense. How much tech time is going into that? How much porter time is going into that? Salesperson time is going into that. Now is the absolute right time, if you haven't fine-tuned that process, to be able to do that. And I'm known for BDC a lot because, look, everybody needs it, but operations is my jam. And I'm telling you, with our clients, we put a heavy emphasis on the turn time and how you're bringing in that inventory and what you're doing with your salespeople right now. Because if you don't have a car to sell a customer, then having them in their CRM trying to get a customer in isn't going to work. But having them on the service drive, building a relationship with the other customer, which is a process we all know needs to be done, but rarely happens, this is the time to do it and turn those cars the right way. Max's face says, I either agree or I want to say so.
No, I love it. Listen, what I see, again, it almost feels like you guys live in one world and I live like in a parallel universe, right? Because what I see is that there's a BDC department for the sales department, and then there's a completely different BDC department for the service department, and they never speak to each other.
Right.
So I almost feel like my job is to give you guys a little taste of reality, because in the real world, it's very far from being perfect.
Well, no, I don't think anybody's saying it's perfect. I just think that
we're saying it's broken.
In the for instances, I mean, that's our specialty, is fixing all of those things that are broken. Right. Of course, we have the atrocity 17 days to market when we start working with someone, and then all the way through. And I love the story with 72 hours to market. It's huge. But the fact in the disconnect in the real world is that even in the time that I sat in that chair looking at those inefficiencies as a used car director, we don't have a get-ready specialist. We're in line behind customer pay, which I never understood because my internal hourly rate was higher than the CP hourly rate. So why am I waiting to get my cars through and get ready?
Exactly.
Thank you.
The used car manager's giving that car a sunbath and collecting the customer pay because they're worried about CSI.
Right.
What about CSI with the sales department?
Right.
I mean,
And how about us getting our cars to market?
Even in normal times, a car depreciates weekly.
Yep.
A new car only depreciates once annually.
Well, and not just the depreciation, but the operating costs and the carrying costs for having that there. It's something that most used car managers don't understand. And I think, that's one area, because I started in the accounting office, that my perspective has always been so much different because I paid the damn floor plan expense every single time. I was trying to rotate through and make sure that everything was, that for cash flow purposes, we were getting paid on the contract. We were getting those cars online so we could recoup that money as quickly as possible. Coming from the last crash, by the way, operating accounting offices in Michigan, during the time when we literally had no money and were afraid we were losing franchises left and right. So the necessity,
left and right.
And I think, Max, that's why it sounds like we're in a different world, because I feel like we've been in those worst case scenarios already.
Max is an alien. We you know,
No, but
Max's middle name's Alf.
what he's meaning is, in the reality for the everyday dealer who's not engaged with somebody who has their thumb on the pulse of it as a basic business unit, to be able to generate profits and turn your capital investments, you know, versus those of us who are sitting here, okay, who are these crazy people? Like, best case scenario, it didn't start that way. It started very broken. And there are lots of Patrick taking the weekend off, like, ha, 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 good for you now, right? But lots of 17, 18-hour days for weeks on ends to try to get these problems solved. And we've made tons of mistakes doing it along the way. So I always tell my stories, it's like, listen, if I've already failed through this, I'm not going to let you continue to make those same mistakes that I already have. Learn from my mistakes.
Learn from my mistakes versus remaking them yourself.
You know what I love, though, about what Max said is this. Like, I think sometimes the people who are joining us on these things because they know us or they're hearing us think, oh, well, they're just all friends. They all agree. We don't, actually. We all do similar things that are different, and some of us cross over. But I think the best part of these conversations is that we're challenging each other to grow and learn things about it. I love the different perspective that comes from you, Max. I love that Jim and I didn't agree on something last week. I think that's fantastic, because this is what we're trying to accomplish, is open perspectives. We talked last week about how if you bring in somebody, how do you know if they're legit? They don't just sugarcoat stuff and tell you what you want to hear. That's the purpose of these kind of conversations.
You know, BDCs are overpaid anyway.
Who is?
BDCs. They're most BDCs work for minimum wage and free pizza.
Yeah, most BDCs aren't built right.
Yeah, they work for free pizza and minimum wage.
Yeah, most BDCs aren't built right. Most BDCs.
That's why they don't operate right. Is because they are underpaid.
Right. So, like, anybody who's a dealership that doesn't have their BDC and their sales department in every meeting together, shame on you. This is one team going in one direction. And when you separate them, just like service and sales, you have multiple units working against each other instead of as a collaborative. And that happens in all the departments, but specifically there. I mean, I worked for Sonic Automotive for a long time. A lot of people don't know that. I was a finance director for a long time with Sonic Automotive, and I killed it in that position, and it's still my favorite position. But one of the smartest things they did when I started there is I got a little cocky. I was 21 when I started. I got a little cocky. So you know what they did? They made me work in every department for 2 weeks at a time so I could learn what the other department had as challenges, and not saying 2 weeks is enough to learn a position, just saying that opened my eyes to a different set of opportunities, right? It was a smart thing they did.
Well, you know, my gosh, I got into business, you know, they put me in a room with a bunch of Jackie B. Cooper tapes and said, don't come out till you're trained. And that was the only training I ever received. So don't be complaining about not receiving training. I mean, we get more training today.
Yeah, than we ever did.
Did.
My dad gave me an Auto Trader magazine and said, you got to bring in 10 customers before you can take a phone up or a lot up. Get them in here. Figure it out. You know?
Exactly.
And then after I was done being a porter, he made me go work in the office for a year and learn tag and title before I could.
You know what? That was smart though. Dick Garber is one of the smartest business owners I have ever met, and I have nothing but respect for that man. I worked for him for a long time. His son worked on my team. His son worked on the parts team, the service team, as he went through Northwood. And the one thing Dick always said was, I don't want you to treat him like he's my son. I want him to learn. And RJ is one of the smartest kids I know now because of it. There's no grandiose expectation, and he made him do that. Jenna Donner is the same way from her dad. Like, I think that's huge. You know,
I really appreciate it when a dealer has their children working in the dealership, being educated. You know, so many dealers' kids today are competent. I mean, I'm amazed at the level of competency coming out of second, third generation dealers. When I was younger, and the dealer's kid was generally the lucky sperm club. You know, they won a race one time with 5 million other sperm cells and hadn't done anything since. You know?
Walk around, tell everybody how to do something they don't even know how to do.
You can tell that that's the thought, because a lot of dealers' kids now don't even want to say they're a dealer's kid because they're like, oh, PhD. Like, no, you should be proud of it as long as you're putting the work in. And Northwood has done an excellent job of adding marketing and doing all the things that they weren't doing before. You know, just real quick though, I have a question. Who's because we were talking about training for a second. Who's going to Digital Dealer next week? Anybody?
That's a hard no.
You know,
I wasn't going. I wasn't going.
Hell
I'm going now.
My vacation
looking-
is next week.
I'm looking to speak at Digital Dealer again.
And vacations.
I'm going to wait the next cycle.
My
till it
1-year
comes back
anniversary
to
and vacation.
Yeah, I was just curious. I wasn't planning to go, so I didn't put a schedule together yet. So I wanted to see if anybody was attending. So if you guys are listening and you're in the comments, let me know so I can meet up with you on there.
I'm going to wait till the next cycle when it returns to Florida, and I'm going to ask them if I can take the stage again and do a speech. I haven't done a speech in a while.
Yeah, I'm going to help with Women in Automotive, you know, since I'm on the board of that. And then also we are trying to create a partnership with a young lady, with a client who is brilliant, and we're going to be able to spend some time with her there. So we're flying in for that.
Well, guess what? My article in Digital Dealer magazine this month is on fire.
Yes, I saw that.
I saw
Did you
that.
read the article?
I did.
Yeah, do you think it's the picture?
What is the picture of that was actually my driver's license photo from 1976.
Yeah.
You can see you can see the state seal on the corner of that picture where I cut it off my driver's license. It's, you know, I was a genuine hippie, you know, just for a short time. You know, I had the hair and the beard, and
You and Hulk Hogan really did look a lot alike in the late 70s. I mean, if you look at Hulk Hogan in the late 70s and Jim's picture in that driver's license,
One of my kids
I'm not
said-
convinced they're not the same
Yeah.
person.
They
Are
saw
you
one of your
really
posts on
Hulk Hogan?
social, and the kids actually said, "Is that Hulk Hogan?"
Hulk Hogan. Yeah, I got that from a lot of people. Yeah, I was bench pressing 450 pounds in those days.
It's about that. It's about, yeah. Sounds
Yeah, I
very
was
Hulk Hogan-ish.
pumping up 450. I was in the Battle of the Toughest, which was the predecessor for the
UFC.
Ultimate Fighting
Yeah.
Championship. And I got knocked out in the last fight in 45 seconds. I mean, I got knocked out cold, like a sleep knocked out. You know,
So
I mean,
I'm gonna guess that was prior to Miss Debbie, because I don't think she would allow those kinds of concussions.
no, this was prior to Miss Debbie.
Yeah.
The car salesman had chipped in and bought me Adidas bathing suit, and they had a Sears and Roebuck bathrobe that said Superior Datsun on the back.
Oh my
And I
goodness!
was wearing Adidas shoes and
You
knee
were
socks. And this guy shows up with Everlast boxing trunks and Everlast boxing professional shoes.
Oh, you were.
Oh, shit.
My trainer, the guy, I've been training in the get ready department with the get ready guys, you know. And my trainer says, "You're gonna get your ass kicked."
Oh my
he said,
goodness!
"All that triple jab and that stuff we've been practicing, just go out there and pound it till one of you drops." He said,
Now
"Forget all
get your ass
the."
kicked to move forward.
I got one photograph of me, and Bobbie, Jennifer, you've seen this photograph in my house. I'm reaching out that far, and I'm missing the guy by that much, and he's connecting with me. His arms are like 4 inches longer than mine.
Hulk Hogan is the green one, right? That's like, like
No,
that.
No, that's the
No,
Incredible Hulk,
no,
Bobbie.
that's
That's
the-
Marvel.
Which one's Hulk Hogan?
That's a cartoon. Hulk
Okay.
Hogan was a.
I'm gonna Google it
wrestler.
later. I'll Google it later.
Just Google
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan 1970s, and
I
it's literally
I
Jim.
wanted to be a wrestler. I really, my career would have taken a different path altogether. I was bench pressing 450. I was working out with all the professional wrestlers. Don Curtis, the promoter, was a good friend of mine. Bobby Shane, who passed away, was a great friend of mine. I knew all the professional wrestlers. They were great friends of mine. I wanted to be a professional wrestler. NWA.
You have the persona that would have definitely taken off. I mean,
I was Dr. X, a big time radio celebrity on the radio. I already had a following.
following.
Yeah.
But Don Curtis took me aside and he said, "Jim, you're strong enough. You're an acrobat. You could do all the moves, but you're just too short."
Oh,
He said, "All our guys are like 6 feet tall." He said,
crushing.
you know,
Well,
I'm 5'8".
There's a thing about wrestling in the car business. I remember the first event after I came out, into my role as a marketing director and a sales manager. We held an event, an amateur wrestling event. We set the big stage up in the service lane, Jim, and
Amateur.
Yeah. Amateur, yes, and
Oh.
locally right there in Saginaw. I'm sure Bobbie's classy crew down the road were laughing at us having our wrestling event, but all the proceeds went to a wonderful charity. And I can remember I stole the bell for the ring. There you go. That's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Somebody just said it to me. Okay, I got you now.
I stole the bell, and we actually used it in our internet sales department. So every time they would get an appointment and they'd go up, they had to physically go write it on the board and ring that bell to create that excitement. So it was a crazy, insane way to start my debut into events and dealerships to host an actual wrestling event. But my kids thought it was way cool, and we raised a ton of money, and it created excitement going forward.
Okay, I hate to top your story, but
Go ahead.
okay. I was friends with all the wrestlers, and one of them was the great Malenko from Russia, from the USSR. You know how the Russians are. And the great Malenko, his real name was Larry Simon. He was a Jewish guy from New Jersey, but he was calling himself the great Malenko, the Russian bad guy. And he had one glass eye. He had
real or for fake?
he had one prosthetic eye. Okay. And he would listen here, Mr. TV announcer, Mr. Gordon Solly Big Shot. This week in my lucky city of Jacksonville, I'm going to beat Dick Murdoch. Dick, you're just too good to be true. Can't take my eye off you. I mean, the great Malay. We hired a bunch of when I started consulting the Ford Minority Dealer Program in Spalding Ford in Griffin, Georgia. We hired a bunch of the wrestlers, the B-rated wrestlers, not the headliners, but we hired a bunch of professional wrestlers, and we had a wrestling match on the dealership parking lot. We had 10,000 people. We had police directing traffic. It was phenomenal how many people
on social right now.
Right?
Yeah, we had 10,000 people on a Ford parking lot in a little country town of Griffin, Georgia, south of Atlanta. We had the headliner, I believe, was Tommy Wildfire Rich, retired or semi-retired wrestler, and we also did the same thing with Billy Fusillo in New York.
Okay.
Billy had Evel Knievel jump over his dealership with a motorcycle.
Listen, I still wish we did fun stuff like that at dealerships, because the social media aspect of that for advertising is huge. But I like the energy that it creates in a dealership. You know, the old ring the bell thing, people were like, oh, it's for the customer. No,
Ring
it wasn't.
the bell.
Keep up everybody on the floor. It was like the old Kirby vacuum meetings to get you excited all day long and pumped up. I love that.
Hey, wait a minute.
Do you guys remember the Chopper? Do you remember the King of Cars?
Yes, with the Blue Genie. I was just talking about
The
him.
Blue Genie. I consulted that dealership. We were selling 800 units a month on a 3-acre lot in it wasn't in Las Vegas. It was in Henderson, Nevada. And I mean, it was amazing. I was actually in some of those infomercials he did. That was pure promotion marketing.
Yeah.
I am a promotions guy.
Energy matters in any industry, but in any store. I think I like to play poker in dealerships. We've talked about this before. I like to hand out take a behavior that we want to adapt or change or highlight in a positive way. And when it happens, train or treat, here's a card. At the end of the day, play the hand. And I make rules like, in order to get a card, you got to ring a bell, make some noise, clap, do a dance, something silly. And they're like, why? Because I want the whole dealership's healthy competition level and their energy to go way up.
Contest and promotions.
It works.
Contests and promotions. I mean, that's the way I came up in the dealership, to motivate the people.
Well, and I think that energy, it actually ties back to talking about, and not just the sales meetings with BDC being involved, but making sure each department is on the same page. What I really enjoyed about my time at Feldman was every single Tuesday morning, every general manager, every corporate executive, every director of any department, we had an all hands meeting to make sure that every department was on the same page, whatever momentum we were creating, that energy and that momentum got communicated through to every single department. And that's why these sales contests are so awesome, because they get that department geeked up. But I think we have to realize that, going back to the earlier part of the broadcast today, that communication, whether it's a contest or it's a plan or it's a strategy, if we don't have a way to create that buzz across all the departments, then that's when we fall flat. And it doesn't work. And it's not because it wasn't a great idea. It's because you didn't communicate the excitement level to all the departments and get everybody
together. Max, check in here. Excitement, promotion. Max, check in a second. Get a word in edgewise, Max. Come on.
You're rushing. What are we doing? None of these stereotypes are true.
Listen, I think the issue now, right, is the talent, right? Because all talented car guys are employed. Right, so.
Did you say all talented car guys are employed? So there's lots of girls. All right, gotcha.
It was gender neutral.
Non-binary.
Right, non-binary.
Non-binary.
Right.
But I don't think that's any different. I don't think that's different now. All the talented car people are always employed.
Right. So I think. You know, we have to generate excitement about attracting quality people to work in a car dealership, right? Because, you know, the promotions and the games, they're great, you know, but you have useless people, no promotion will help them, right? So as an industry, we need to do something to attract real people. You know, not people with multiple felonies and misdemeanors, you know, but maybe the ones that actually graduated college, right? And I don't see anybody actively recruiting at a job fair at any college, right? And it's not on the agenda either. So
we go to job fairs and we went to Sam's Club and we bought cases of Payday candy bars. And when the graduates walked down the aisle, we said, "Hey, would you like a payday?" And
that's clever.
I like that.
Giving out payday candy bars at the UGA and the Georgia Tech graduation, and we were pitching it as a summer job.
Yeah.
Look, you don't have to be in the car business for the rest of your life. Just do it for the summer.
Yeah. And remember when I mentioned last week, when I first started selling cars for George Sutherland, he used to do that with the Northwood students. He would bring them down from Northwood as a summer job. And lo and behold, I would say 75% of them ended up in the car business back when they were ready to go.
But that's a really good point. Yeah. That's a really good point, because car business is really exciting, right? And everybody loves cars. So all you have to do is maybe get them the summer internship and make them fall in love with the car, with the process, you know? And believe me, it's so much more fun to work at a car dealership than to be a paper pusher at a local bank.
Well, listen, or to be a paper pusher at a local dealership. I will tell you,
or to work at an Amazon warehouse.
Experience. I spent the first half of my career in the accounting office. It is not nearly as fun as the front of the house, right? But I was that person. I have 2 college degrees before I came into the front of the house. And most people, I think, kind of what Max is saying, we're not recruiting for talent that is college educated, but at the same time, I think that's a perspective issue on both sides, right?
Of course.
Because if I have 2 degrees, I don't want to just be a salesperson.
I'm still going to disagree with Max. So I like to do internal promotions and contests. I wrote a book 20 years ago called 101 Sales Training Meetings. And that book is still online. I mean, some of those meetings are way out of date. But you can Google up. Somebody has published my book. I didn't even put it online, but somebody published it for download. You know, and it's 101 sales training meetings, and some of the meetings were just fun things. And my God, one of my best contests was I would go to what you do on Amazon right now and get a roll of carnival tickets, like little kids have it, Halloween carnivals. Each ticket has the same number on it, you know. And
Jim, it even has your road to the sale in here.
I would make up contests. I would say, okay, we have an overaged unit. This unit's been here for 200 days, and I'm going to give away 10 tickets to whoever sells the unit.
Yeah.
10 tickets. What's a ticket? We're going to have a, and then we would have a big screen TV would be the number one prize. Then there'd be a number two prize, which would be something less, Xbox or whatever. And we'd have all these different prizes. And you ever go to Chuck E. Cheese's and see all the kids running around with the little tickets?
I still do.
Wait, is that only for kids?
Yeah.
I mean, you see all these kids running around with tickets. The kid's got 500 tickets. Oh my God, he's going to win a Rolex. He gets a plastic whistle.
You know, but it works. It works. I get made fun of a lot when I go into dealerships, especially with the sales teams to do training. Like I'll bring in like a sticker chart or something. They're like, Bobbie, you're not going to get anybody to do anything with sticker chart. I'm like, are you kidding me? These are the most competitive people I've ever met. You know what a grown man will do for a sticker if you ask him to? Yeah, it's crazy. It doesn't have to be expensive.
He wants to get more stickers than the person next to it because he's competitive.
Right, and it doesn't have to be
or
expensive.
She.
But good job. I was just messing with you about that, Max. But it goes back to what Max was just saying, though, about being at the places and recruiting them. Look, you can be a dealer who's totally old school, and that's fine. And you can be a dealer who's totally progressive, and that's fine. Is that my style? No. But if you want people to work 100 hours a week, you just need to be honest with yourself and say, recruiting at a college is not for me, because those people are going to stick and my turnover is going to increase.
Yeah.
But as long as a dealership, you know your identity and you're transparent, your turnover isn't going to be as crazy and you'll know where to recruit. Those students, for example, are looking for progressive opportunities. A lot of those students aren't looking to make 150 grand a year, even with a degree. They're looking for flexibility in life. They're looking to have a voice and to be able to participate in things. That does not mean that everything they say has to be law. It means that they need to be heard, to feel respected, and everybody wants to be respected in the position they're in. It's a great concept, and a lot of dealers who are really more progressive are doing it, but a traditional dealer can do it too. Like, shit, maybe some kid wants to be a balloon animal guy. Who knows? Maybe they want to blow that stuff up and hang out with the gorilla on the line.
Nothing wrong with balloons and gorillas and Elvis impersonators on a flatbed truck.
I like it.
And again, listen, guys, you know, it's not just selling cars, right? We can attract quality personnel for management position.
Right.
Right.
But then
what
also
happened, you know, for me, right, a parts manager, right, is an incredibly important position. Right. And I rarely see people that should be in that position. Right. Oftentimes what you do, you do in sales. You promote your best counter person, or you promote your best salesperson to be a manager. But that's a totally different skill set.
Yeah.
Right?
If you were hiring for your store, who would you put in that role, Max?
In parts management?
Yeah.
I would try to recruit out of Amazon an inventory manager.
A bean counter.
Correct.
A bean counter. Yeah.
Right? You know, and these are the people you can get out of college. Right?
And you know, another thing.
Same thing with social media, guys. You know, we don't need to get car salespeople with a degree in anthropology, right? We got to get people to do social media. We got to get people to do parts online. We got to get people to do accounting, to do BDC, right? These are not really sales positions. You know, these are skilled employees.
Well,
right?
and another thing, we also have to have a path. Like a lot of dealers, and I'm sure Bobbie and Jennifer, you'd probably see this more, but we don't have any path for progression for these new recruits, these new people that we bring in. You know what I mean? Like we say, hey, we want them to come in and we want you to be a salesperson or a BDC or whatever. But the younger, especially the younger generation, they want to know how they can grow in the company with the business. Where's the career path?
Where's the career path? That's why I created 4 levels of sales.
We built that for a giant group.
Every pay plan I ever did was 4 levels of sales. Entry level, professional level, executive level, and, you know, and created master level. We had 4 levels of sales, and you had to work to achieve those, and you were reevaluated every 90 days on a rolling 90-day average.
Yep.
Right. And this is one of the things that are built for those. So since our tagline is like, we teach old dogs new tricks, I'm going to give you guys a pro tip that's super easy real quick. If you're looking for a parts or a service manager, okay? So hear me out, because this is guerrilla marketing. So it's not shady, but it's creative. So you send somebody into your competitive dealer's dealership, right? Jennifer knows what I'm going to say. If you know there's a service manager you want, or if you don't, you send somebody out, they put in applications at all these competing dealerships 30 miles out. What they ask during the initial conversation before being called is, so one of the things they ask is, what day do you do your meetings on in service? And one of the things they ask is, what day is payday? The reason we want to know this is then we put a why work in our service department ad together. And for a very small amount of money, so anybody can do this, you use Geo to geo the other dealership. And on the days that they're most likely to be disgruntled, including meeting days and paydays, you geo those people with messages all day long that they don't even know are happening. So if you don't know what a geo is, real simple, just ask your marketing people. Messages of why work there while they're disgruntled. And it lands on an employment application page with a video that talks about, this is a complete secret, nobody's going to know you did this. And then you target them right afterwards with an automation that goes into.
Oh, you are nasty.
I love it.
Hey, listen.
You are nasty.
All's fair in love and war.
All's fair. I love it. I love it.
We put a $12,000 recruiting bonus for salespeople in anything where you can advertise. $12,000 for experienced salespeople with a good track record.
The beautiful
and people come in $12,000 bonus.
So that used to be so common. It's not common anymore.
Yeah, but why? But think about, why would it be, right? Like if think about this for a minute, because of marketing, okay, and what we're talking about. That's followed up with an automation drip in the service forums where texts and stuff go to search things, okay? Here's why it's so effective. Because it feels like it wasn't happening. Psychology, it's being shown to you at the right moment, at the right time, just like our marketing works now. And you're all trained now to follow marketing that way, to have it be so granular that it magically just appears in front of you. Where in an ad, and it will still work if somebody's looking, but if they're not actively looking, they're not going to notice it. And we're not always wanting to hire people who are actively looking. I want you to be happy at your job now. And then
somebody that's looking, I'd rather get somebody that isn't looking, that is performing. A $12,000 bonus works this way. We will give you $1,000 the minute you unpack your cardboard box.
Right.
And we will give you $1,000 additional in a separate paycheck. A $1,000 check every month as long as you stay here.
Yep. And if someone refers them, you pay them a bonus too. But that's the thing, right? That's the old dog new tricks kind of thing, is you can understand how that flows through and you don't have to know how to do it. It's super cheap and your marketing company does it. That's the kind of aggressive old school guerrilla marketing that works in new age technology, right? That's how it
recruit the best people and pay them too much.
That's right.
Absolutely, and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Dealers are so concentrated on how to pay people less.
No, you know what my favorite is, Jim? It's this is my favorite. They're working their pay plan. I can't believe it. Like, you know how a pay plan is supposed to work, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
It's supposed to be written to motivate that person in that position, which is why going to a 20 group and saying, I need a couple of pay plans is a bad idea. Good for a foundational idea, but it's supposed to be written for the person. And Jennifer will not love this, but I don't care if it takes the accounting office 35 hours to figure it out. Hire another person, because I want my people motivated.
That's right.
Listen, if your accounting office is smart, you can set up the commission structures based off of the B plan. So when the deal posts, you can actually have that work. But it is incredibly frustrating if you don't do it the right way.
Right.
Then you're hand calculating commissions at the end of the month, and it slows up the statement. So if you are going to do that, call your DMS provider, please, and figure out how to automate that calculation so your accounting staff doesn't quit.
Right.
And that was my TO to Jennifer to answer it for the accounting people who don't listen to me because I'm not an accounting background.
Listen, everything Jennifer just said is the stuff that I've heard my mom talk about for 25 years, 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
My mom is one of the best controllers I've ever met. She's been in business for a very long time. and does a killer job. So you just have to say that so people know, like, unless
Yeah,
you're just like, oh, Patrick's mom.
My mom loves, like, Jennifer, if my mom heard what you just said, she'd be like, oh, yes, please, yes. Oh, my gosh, yes.
You and your mom and I have had some of these conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I like to leave the accounting world in the past only because it's not as fun as operations. It's a lot more fun making the money than it is counting the money.
How are we getting cars right now? We got about 8 more minutes. Let's talk about how are we going to get inventory in the short term?
I'll tell you what, we really haven't had, because of our inventory, we have a lot less of a hard time than I think some dealers do, because not everybody's out there looking for $150,000, $200,000 cars. Where we are having the biggest problem is one of our best selling vehicles is like a 2 to 3 year old C-Class Mercedes-Benz still under warranty. Okay, that is our number one selling car across all of our stores. I can't find one. That's those $25,000 to $35,000 used cars. They're not out there. 50 and up, I can buy them all day long.
I should have brought you the Audi.
Yeah, right. No, actually, I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, there's a really good chance that car might end up on my lot. It's right up my alley.
What better time to rethink the structure of how you're buying cars, though? I have a buy here, pay here right up the road from me, and I work with a lot of indies, and I love them. They got like 300 cars on the lot right now. And you know what? They're not selling any more than they were before, and nobody's coming after their inventory because it doesn't fit what they normally sell. But what about the client you can't sell right now, and that they don't have the banks that are buying like ours are?
I got to ask Max a question. Max. Do we have service contracts for cars that already have 100,000 miles?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now you are a service contract vendor amongst other hats that you wear.
Yes,
so
sir.
you have service contracts for high mileage cars that you can give dealers.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now, everything you're saying, guys, is absolutely accurate, and you have to get creative. If you can't get the car, in that sweet spot, maybe 30 to 50,000 miles still under factory warranty, well, we have to go, another route.
I'm asking for a real, I'm telling the dealers that I work with, you need to start saving the cars that you've been previously wholesaling.
Yes.
You need to have what I call backlot cars.
And Jim, to answer your question, I have such a kick-ass vehicle service contract that a finance manager can sell any term in 2,500 mile increments.
Really?
You base it on the interview with the customer and you say, hey, Jim, how many miles do you drive a year? And based on the answer, you can really customize that VSC to that particular customer, as opposed to saying, well, listen, here's 100,000 miles, enjoy.
Right.
Well, next week we're going to talk about F&I. Next week,
I know.
You smiled.
He was like, whoa, this one's right up my alley.
Next week, the subject's going to be F&I. The Dog Pound is going to talk about finance.
That's my favorite.
We're going to talk about finance, the evolution of finance, what kind of products we're selling, what kind of penetrations we're getting, what you should be able to expect.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about finance next week. That's going to be the Dog Pound. I'm going to bring at least one guest in. And I
want to know who the guest is.
I do
I've got at least one guest. I'm going to slide into the Dog Pound next week to talk about F&I. And I appreciate you guys. My technology messed up a little bit. I got kicked off my own broadcast. I'm glad you.
Well, we have no problem.
Between the three of us, especially Max, kind of doesn't talk as much. But between me, Bobbie, and Jennifer, I think we can handle the conversation.
Max
that's for sure.
He's a Russian. He's devious. Max is a schemer. He's a Russian.
Quiet, silent ninja. Quietly listening. It's fun to get excited about this stuff, though. It's like we haven't had enough grown-up adult interaction in the last year, other than what we do on the daily, even with clients. There's not a lot that's been stimulating. So this show it's fun for that. And we just all get really excited about it.
Yeah, well, like I say, next week we're going to be diving into F&I, which is my background and Max's forte.
Yes.
Finance is still the most profitable department in the dealership per square foot.
The most profitable.
Oh,
The
yeah.
most
Like you
profitable.
said.
Yeah,
I love
without
that.
question.
I mean, you got to remember, most sales managers learned their job by watching somebody that got fired. You know,
Right.
I've got, as an F&I manager, I've got more skills, more schools, more specialized training than anybody in the dealership except the
For the
technicians.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Except the
And you
technicians.
have to do it in a very compressed period of time.
Oh,
Right.
you gotta be a precision closer to be a
That's right.
finance manager.
That's right.
And you, with a salesperson out there tapping on a Rolex,
Yeah.
telling you know, I've had salespeople
Jim, don't blow this customer out. I don't really need this
Don't
deal.
blow this guy out. I need this deal. How many times have I heard that crap? You know, as if I'm going to blow somebody out. Don't blow this deal out. I mean, I have had that so many times. Excuse me. I've seen 6 and 7 salesmen and managers take multiple TOs on a customer, not make a deal, and that's okay.
Yep.
Let one come bouncing out of my F&I office, just one.
Oh,
I tell all the salespeople
You're
that
castrated.
I take care of managers, the porter and the finance manager should be the 2 people you take care of most. You want your car in and out quick when you're delivering a car, and you want finance to be smooth. Make sure you get your finance manager a coffee on the last day of the month. Make sure you say hi to that porter every morning who's washing your car, because those relationships rely on one another to be
and
smooth.
buy lunch for the office at least once a month.
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you the story of my Russian car salesman.
The whole
next
office.
week.
I gotta give a quick
Vladimir.
I gotta give a quick shout out to my niece is watching us today. My favorite, I don't have favorites, but if I had a favorite, my niece Aiden would probably be my favorite, is my favorite. And she was like, you guys are doing great, but mostly she said Anthony Santangelo has been commenting a lot and giving really great feedback. And she said that we should tell him thank you. So
Thank you, Anthony. We love you, buddy.
And thank
And
you,
thank you for
I'm
recognizing
interviewing
it.
Anthony Friday, by the way.
Oh, that's
We
great.
did.
I've got a show with Anthony. We're going to talk about what we now train salespeople that we didn't train salespeople 5 years ago. You know,
Yeah.
what
Very nice. I think I have the reminder set up for
what's
that one.
changed in training.
Yeah.
Max,
That'd be great.
Max, you would have loved my Russian car salesman, Vladimir Nikishin. He would walk up to a customer and say, "Hello, my name is Val. How you go?" How you go? And stick that big
I love
hand
your
out.
Russian impression.
Yeah.
Right.
Is his vocal on point, Max? Does that like sound right? Or you just-
It's not bad. It's not bad. You definitely know he's not trying to do Indian or Chinese accent.
Right.
How you go?
Love
Okay,
it.
I've had a great time with the Dog Pound this week. So I'll tell you guys, it's been a pleasure, and stick around a second. Wave.
See you guys later.
Bye.